Support for DMP is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Thank you for recommending to Manscaped our podcast. Manscaped actually reached out to us and sent us the Perfect Package 3.0. I come home one afternoon and my wife's like, hey, go look in the bathroom. There's something for you from Manscaped. Looks like a shoebox. Well, let's just get into this. This is the package. Inside the package, when you open it up, it says, your balls will thank you. This is the true story. Inside the package, the prized possession, they call it the Lawnmower 3.0. I call it the Man Mower 3.0. 7,000 RPM, plus this thing has an LED light to help you guide and navigate through that forest, the jungle, if you will. Not only does it come with a trimmer, it comes with ball deodorant, ball toner, pair of boxers, the quick charge. You just walk in your bathroom and it sits there like your toothbrush would, right? You come in and go, oh man, I've got this freedom for my balls to stay undefeated because of this waterproof trimmer. Lasts up to 90 minutes. You can take this in the shower and shave yourself. But dude, if you're in the shower for 90 minutes, it better not just be with this thing. I'm just saying, guys, here's the deal. Manscaped.com. You go there, enter code DMP, you get 20% off plus free shipping. That's right. You get 20% off plus free shipping. Manscaped.com. This is good stuff. This toolbox is what you need for your toolbox. Get some.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Defining Moments Podcast. My name is Wong, and this podcast is brought to you by Freedom, the Undefeated American Dream, and Oklahoma's musical ambassador, Kyle Dillingham. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Wong. Very good to be here with you at last. I've got my Defining Moments Podcast shirt on. I've been wearing this since you gave it to me last June,
yeah,
I think it was.
That's right, a year ago.
And I wash it every week and put it back on. It's always under. Actually, it's kind of funny. I wear it often as an undershirt too, because I just love the feeling.
That's awesome.
I became very inspired when we met, and just hearing about your podcast and this idea of thinking about what is that defining moment, that pivotal moment in your life that you can really see there was before that day and then after that day.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to be here with you and to talk about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll touch on that because that's one of my defining moments as your tweet to me. But your wife, she is in the military, right? And so thank you for her services.
Thank you. Yeah, she spent 9 years in the Air Force, in Air Force Reserves.
Yeah.
And very, very proud of Jenny.
That's awesome.
For her service. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing. We thank all of our men and women.
Absolutely.
And it is an incredible thing. When I was in college, I have a friend of mine who owns Inner City Violin Studios, Dina. Yeah. She bought me an ammo case, and I would carry around my DI and my cable, all my stuff that I needed for a show when I was touring.
Yeah.
And she said, her daddy fought, and her brother was in a Marine, and anyways, she said, she's the most patriotic person I know. She said, I want you to have this ammo box. she said. But I want that to be as close as you get to actually going and serving in military, she said. But she said, I want you to carry it as a reminder that how blessed and how fortunate we are that there are so many that would be willing to give their lives for us.
That's awesome.
So it is awesome. And
That's so great, man.
It's a trembling feeling, you know.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. I think about that. It's like, man, I didn't get a chance to serve in the United States military nor law enforcement here. However, this provides us a unique opportunity to serve the United States as well, and the freedoms that we get to celebrate together. So thank you for coming on, taking your time.
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
On here. Your kids doing well?
Kids are doing well.
Yeah.
They're growing like crazy, and just making music and making joy everywhere they go. And we're just having a lot of fun this summer. And we've started making some videos together as well, which has been kind of fun.
I've seen those.
Yeah. So new video coming soon, but keep your eyes peeled.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have ways in which we can serve our country, and I think it's about our intention. I feel I've been very fortunate in my 30 years performing to have had an opportunity now to perform in over 40 countries.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has been actually formally, even as a musical envoy from the United States State Department. And so there's a number of levels of service. But I think what's most important is how serious we take each opportunity and each interaction to create a positive impression and try to make this world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about taking every possible moment that you can to make an impact. What's been, let's say, this past 5 months or 4 months, this whole COVID-19 hit, is a kind of a pivotal moment for the world. And because you actually performed at the Grand Ole Opry not too long prior to that.
Been about a year ago I made my debut. I just think about that today, depending on when this airs, but July 24th.
Wow.
2019 was my Grand Ole Opry debut, and we were right in the middle of negotiating some more dates.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the industry just collapsed and everything shut down. But you know, we've got to always try to remain focused. I was talking with a colleague of mine today about that, who was also kind of feeling some of the discouragement and trying to find her foothold as a touring artist and not being able to do that. And I said, you know, we've got to remain focused and grounded. And so instantly, what I started thinking about is, what is my mission? And my mission is based in the belief that music can inspire, encourage, and heal. And that's what I strive to do with every musical performance or encounter, is to bring in inspiration and encouragement, or even a healing through my music to somebody. And I thought, so what am I going to do? What can I do? So that's when I instantly turned with the idea of creating personal video serenades.
Yeah.
And thank you for engaging in those services.
Absolutely.
But it would also be a way to create a little bit of cash flow, just to see if there was a way to, to make sure we kept food on the table.
Yeah.
But there's been a blessing upon blessing that's come in the most unique ways through this, and different provision, in very unusual ways. Actually, the State Department reached out to me almost immediately. I was one of 4 American Music Abroad alumni artists that they reached out to work together with the Department of State Cultural Affairs sector to create programming that would help them to continue their mission.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah.
And so it really stuck in my, it was in my mind a lot these last few months, was, what is your mission? And that's why I think it's so important to know to figure out what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that you can always stay focused and use it as a filter. Is this Is this going to help me achieve my goals? Is this going to help me do those things that I'm setting out to do and striving to do?
Yeah.
And for as long as I can remember, it may seem like a vague mission, but my goal from the time I was even in junior high, I just remembered how much I loved performing, and I loved watching the audience react and respond, and how in just a blink of an eye, you could just totally change the environment in a room.
Yeah.
With just a little bit of music.
Yeah.
And the right intentions.
Absolutely.
I don't think that music necessarily just has some kind of supernatural power, but I think it's a marvelous tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a marvelous tool. It brings people together. It's has a very natural way of creating a sense of community and a bond and a shared experience.
Yeah.
And I believe God can work through music in a very powerful way. And I've watched that happen so many times that all I've ever wanted to do is just have more and more opportunity to perform for more and more people.
Absolutely.
And so that's my mission. So the video serenades had been a very effective way to do that. And I was very, very pleased with the results of that. And I guess in the last 5 months, I've created 40 or 50 videos.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, we do what we have to do to keep on point.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. When you talk about your mission, what drives you? What's your why? What's connected?
It's very simple. It's just the simple fact that I've watched the impact of the music. I've heard the testimonies from people who, and it's funny because there have been times where I felt it was my worst, and I'd gotten up and I was struggling that day, or I was just feeling a little not with it, or I was, I felt my playing wasn't that good, or I just kind of wanted it to all be over and get to the next day.
Yeah.
And I'd come off stage and there'd be somebody that would walk up to me and say, I was in the back of the room and I was listening, and she said, you played that one song that my dad was a fiddle player, and he used to play that for me every night before bed.
Wow.
And she said, I just closed my eyes and just wept as you played, and it was as if God had just given me a moment with my father once again. And it gives me chills to think about it.
Give me chills thinking about that. It's like, oh wow.
And there's those stories that happen a lot. I often talk about the fiddle culture of Oklahoma, because there really is a fiddle culture in the olden day here, because I have so many people that come up to me and say that either an uncle or a grandpa or a grandma or an aunt or a mother or father played the fiddle.
Yeah.
And they've got the fiddle in the closet or under the bed, or there's got to be a gazillion fiddles across the plains of Oklahoma just stuffed under
beds
and closets and attics, but there's something, these things leave impressions, and they leave marks in our DNA. And I think that the sound of the violin has an ability to penetrate in a very unique way. I also, let me just give you an example. This week, I felt so fortunate. I had a little gig. It was like one of 3 gigs that I've had since February.
Yeah.
And, an actual performance in a public space, not a completely public, but this was a private performance for a group of kids at a summer camp who are foster kids in DHS custody.
Yeah.
And it's a faith-based camp, and I got up and was able to perform. I gave a little presentation with my broken violins.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of a testimony and a word of encouragement and a motivation to these kids. And I walked away from that. of course, the children, they all came up afterwards, and they were you could just see them beaming and glowing, and letting them strum the guitar or hold the violin, or asking the questions, or thanking me, and wanting a hug, thanking me for the performance, and just wanting to say something to me from themselves, how they'd been touched. And I as I was driving back home, about an hour and a half drive, I just thought the whole time about how fortunate I am.
Yeah.
And we can't have too many people that love us. Mm-hmm. Can't have too many people in our lives that love us and care about us. And so we need to think ourselves about how we can be that. How can I be that person in somebody's life that loves and cares about somebody? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a neighbor, a family member, a friend, or even a stranger, that can receive a feeling of love, just through your exchange. So, good things all the way around, and there's lots to come. I know.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You speak about love. Well, our love language happens to be gift giving. So we have a few items for you.
Whew! Mine has to be gift receiving.
There's that for you.
Oh my gosh.
We have these mugs made by Jody.
What's your moment?
Yeah.
Stay undefeated. I love that.
Yeah.
Wong. Hashtag DMP.
Yeah. And here's a couple shirts for you.
Oh my gosh. I gotta see. Oh my goodness. Check that out.
Isn't that sweet?
That is sweet, dude. I love that. That might be going on before I even leave today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, what is your defining moment? What is my defining moment? Let me just tell you. I've been thinking about it because this is but like I said, the 1 year from my debut at the Opry, but it was not the first time I'd played the Opry. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, I was up against a lot of those really important decisions where you're trying to decide, will I go to college, which is, very much encouraged, routinely, for a high school senior. But in my situation, it was rather unique. I had so many people encouraging me not to go to college. There were so many people encouraging me to just go straight into the music industry, move to Nashville, just get that fiddle blazing, and start my career. And I felt torn, and I didn't quite know what to do. Well, I'd had a really incredible thing that happened. I remember I'd gone, it was my junior year, I'd gone to audition for the All-State Orchestra, Oklahoma All-State Orchestra.
Okay.
And I didn't make it into the orchestra. All-day auditions, didn't make it. I came back home and I had this gig playing for a celebrity quail hunt in Enid, Oklahoma, my hometown. And I was supposed to play fiddle in the house band for the banquet, and we would also back up celebrity musicians that were there for the event. Roy Clark was one of those musicians. And when Roy Clark got up to do his segment of entertainment, he pulled me forward, and he introduced me. He wanted to know who I was, and he asked me to play something for the audience.
Yeah.
And I played, and we played together, and when I finished, the crowd just jumped to their feet and were applauding. And this happened to be one of those days where my morale was very low, because of the defeat that I had earlier that day for the audition. Which is why we've got to always keep the undefeated mindset, like you're talking about.
Wow, I like it.
Because there was what I could have seen as a defeat and a setback in my life and in my career as a musician. Yeah. And that night, after that little performance, the general manager of the Grand Ole Opry, who was emceeing the banquet, jumped up on stage while the crowd was cheering, and on the spot invited me to be a feature performer on the Grand Ole Opry with Roy Clark.
Whoa!
It was just like,
oh, man.
Turn out the lights and call the law. It was crazy. And what happened is Roy Clark was not available the dates that I was going to be in Nashville. At the last minute, he couldn't make it, and I was set to perform with Mike Snyder, banjo player, Opry star, comedian, and we got to the Opry early. We went a day early because, back then it was real hard. Communication wasn't what it is now.
Right.
Nowadays, I didn't have, Bill Whitaker's phone number or really quite know what we were doing and it was all kind of arranged and so we showed up and we didn't know where we were supposed to go, but we showed up, we found the back artist entrance to the Opry. We pulled up to the guard. He knew who I was. I said, well, I'm supposed to be on tomorrow night. But we decided to come a day early. They said, well, come on in. We'll put you on tonight too. And I was like, well, shoot, I would have showed up last week. So I went in and that night I was the manager of the Opry was taking me around and introducing me to people in their dressing rooms. And he got me back in the dressing room of Bill Monroe, who's considered the father of American bluegrass music.
Dang.
This was somebody that I had, idolized as a kid. Really getting my fiddle chops going with the bluegrass music and the bluegrass festivals and such. I listened to so much. Well, there I was meeting him, shaking his hand, and he asks if I want to pick a tune. We're just in the dressing room and we're jamming. He kicks something off and I'm fiddling, he's singing. Suddenly the stage manager busts in and says, Bill, you're on in 2 minutes. And it was like, everybody in the room just kind of jumped and they said, come on. And I was like, come on, okay. So we all went out on stage, like the whole band, and Bill Monroe and me, and we went out on stage. The crew set up a mic for me right there with his other fiddle players.
Oh.
And they hear the announcer, now we got Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, and the curtain's rising, and all of a sudden we're playing the Bill Monroe theme song. And I just kind of fallen in, Wow. All this happened like I say, literally 2 minutes. And my family didn't even know I was on stage. And this was kind of a bonus.
That's crazy.
And I sat back and I did my performance that night. I went out with Mike Snyder. He invited me to the stage on his set, and featured me for a song. And I sat backstage that night at the Opry, and just all these emotions and things swirling in my head. And there's a lot of things that I've talked about up to this point that you could think are defining moments, and they really are. There was a number of things that happened, but this is the moment that I always kind of point to. And I sat there, and it was this moment where I really felt I'd heard God speaking to me in a very clear way, and it was one of these things where I was still struggling with, what do I do with my future? What am I going to do here in another 6 months when it's time to make my decision about going to college or moving out here to Nashville? At that point, I had full-time offers.
Wow.
In a theater playing fiddle for a big show, and I just felt like God was just telling me, here you are. You're at best a decent violinist with a lot of enthusiasm, but I couldn't even make the All-State Orchestra. You know what I mean?
But you're out there playing.
But I got to play the Grand Ole Opry, and what occurred to me is something that was really instilled in me from an early age. I remember when I was probably about 13 years old, I started playing violin at my church in kind of the praise band. And I remember a lot of the elders of the church instilling this idea in me that whatever we have has been given to us. It's a gift. Our talents, our abilities, even just this opportunity at life is a gift, and God has given that to us, and we should always use it as a way to give back and to glorify Him through our talents and the things we do. And so that has always been a personal mission, and one that I feel every time I pick up my violin or make music, that it's first of all an act of gratitude. It's an act of worship, and I give thanks for these abilities, and and you know, if you see your audience is always God, it really helps you to stay focused and not be concerned about the rest of the people. What are their thoughts? What are they thinking? How are they going to judge or critique me? This is where all the stage fright, the nervousness, it's when we start wondering what somebody else is going to think about what we're doing. But if we do our very best, there was a French theorist, music theorist and composer, Madame Boulanger, who said this thing that she says, "On est toujours devant l'absolu." We are always before the absolute, always before God. Et il faut toujours faire notre mieux, même mieux que notre mieux. Always do our best, even better than our best. And then you let it go. You let everything else go. The worries about, am I personally gonna get this audience fired up tonight? They stood to their feet last night. I wonder if I'm gonna be able to get them to stand to their feet tonight again. There's all this anxiety that can start swirling and stirring and creating in your mind. But if you let those things go, say, I am before God. I'm gonna do my very best. And with a attitude of gratitude and thankfulness for this opportunity to share with these people what's been given to me freely. And then let God work through the music to in His own special way to touch, inspire, encourage, and heal. In a very unique way to every individual person that I would never be able to do. I can go around the room and play a song for everybody, but I can't. It's not within my pay scale to touch and encourage and inspire and heal every single person out there. But I think that God can do that, and if we just release and let our job be one of just presenting what we have, the very best we can every single time. Then it works so much better. And so that night at the Opry, I was backstage, and I just felt like God was saying, you know what, here you are. You're, quite frankly, a terrible violinist, a decent fiddle player, but I want you to see this opportunity, this door that I've opened up for you, this favor I've given you for this opportunity at the Grand Ole Opry. Some artists in my field would go their entire life with this being their lifelong dream to step onto that stage, out into that inner circle, and just make a sound on their instrument. And here I had it when I was in high school. And I was sitting there and I thought, this can't be the end. You know, this can't be the end of the pinnacle of my career because I'm 17. And God, if the real inspiration and the real defining moment was one that just needed to trust. I just needed to trust and believe that if God could make a way for this kind of opportunity for me in the position I was in and my abilities where they were at that moment, then trust to just go and take the time to invest in developing my talents. So I spent the next 5 years in college. I spent the next 5 years honing my skills, sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day practicing the violin. And not every day, but I always reserved, almost every day, 9 p.m. to midnight. Practice room closed at midnight. So I always knew that I would at least have these 3 hours of dedicated practice where there was nothing else going on. And I could do that, and then I'd go back to my dorm and do my homework and then go to bed and start over. But an ability, a time in my life to really become a fully fluent and fully just able to read, write, totally literate musician that would allow me to extend my career through my life and let it be diverse and engaging in so many levels. And I look back from that point, and it was at Oklahoma City University where I met Dr. Dennis Dunham, who was the vice president of international affairs, who that first summer after my freshman year in college took me to perform a tour of Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand, representing the university and recruiting students and all these things. And that opened up, and that went so well on that trip. I ended up performing for the King of Malaysia.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
This was totally not scheduled.
Yeah.
We, my friend Peter Marcus and I were roommates in college. We went on this tour. And at the end of the trip, we had extended our trip and just hanging out in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Yeah.
Some of the OCU alumni set us up in an apartment they had that was empty at the time. They gave us a cell phone, some spending money, and just said, if you hang out next week, we'll just ask you to do one thing for us to play this event for the Malaysian American Society. And the U.S. ambassador to Malaysia was the American VIP, and the Chief Justice of the Malaysian Supreme Court was the Malaysian VP.
Wow.
We performed. This Chief Justice of the Malaysian Supreme Court loved our music so much that he was beside himself, and he wanted us to come perform a high tea for the entire Supreme Court of Malaysia.
Unbelievable.
So 2 days later, we were performing for the entire Supreme Court.
Golly.
And playing our music for them, sharing our music, sharing our traditions and our culture and our spirit. And then they started chatting, and they were in the midst of preparing arrangements for the King's birthday.
Oh.
And it was going to be in about 4 days. And they said, decided we really want to, for the King's birthday, we want to give him a special bluegrass presentation.
What?
And so they made cleared some of the scheduled entertainment, and they had us entertain the king on his birthday.
Unbelievable, man.
So we spent the next 4 days, sweating some of the formal protocols to be in front of the royal family, and how you say in the Malay language how to beg the forgiveness of the king if I've done anything wrong. And every time you said something, you had to close with this
like a bow.
this little saying to sort of if I've done anything wrong, please forgive me, kind of a thing. But we got up and we played for the king, and by the time we came back to Oklahoma and brought this news back to our university, well, every spring, fall, winter, and summer break, we were on an airplane going somewhere in the world performing our music to represent the university.
Oh,
and by the time I'd even graduated, I'd had an opportunity to perform in over 20 countries, and many of those countries many, many times over. And then Tom McDaniel was the president of the university, hired me when I graduated, created a full-time position at the university as ambassador, and appointed me as ambassador of the university. And I continued doing the work that I was doing as a student. And I was going around, and I would offer free programming to schools across our state. And I would go to churches in the Methodist Conference offering back ministry from the campus to the larger community and through the Methodist Conference that way. And I would continue my touring overseas. And I just watch everything, how it's unrolled from that moment where I just trusted that to take this step and go to college and wait and be patient. Sometimes I still have to remind myself, I feel I'm still very patiently progressing through my career, but I've always felt of it kind of like an oak tree, how an oak tree grows and has, gets these deep roots and a very strong really grounded in the strength in this tree as it grows very slowly, but becomes very strong and very tall.
Yeah.
And the longevity, and just continue to believe that even in this time of COVID-19, where my industry has shut down, and I had every single performance canceled for the year.
Wow.
And don't have the dates of the next public performance even on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
That there are opportunities coming. We've just got to not give up.
Yeah.
And should never tire of doing good.
Yeah.
As it says, I've started keeping this scripture on my phone. It says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Galatians 6:9. So there's ways to find encouragement, but there's none like just taking account of what we have. My manager had me on the phone a week or so ago. He'd just gotten off the phone with Dwayne Allen, lead singer of the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yeah.
He said, "I just got off the phone with Dwayne and had the same conversation with him that I'm going to have with you." He said, "Can you still play the fiddle?" "Yeah." "Can you still sing?" "Yeah." "Are you in good health?" "Yeah." He said, "Great. You've got a lot going for you." He said, we're not able to make money right now. It's an inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
But think of what you have, and think of the value that has to so many people in this world.
Absolutely.
And once again, coming back to giving gratitude, keeping the mindset, we're not defeated. With this undefeated mindset, we are more than conquerors.
I love that, man.
And it's not about our circumstances.
Right.
It's about our hope.
Yeah.
And it's about the things to come.
God, man, I love the attitude. I love the enthusiasm that you have about to just go run. So this is fitting. This card right here is one of 6. We got a friend from Kansas. She sent us 6 of these cards, and we thought of you. So that card's for you. If you don't mind, go ahead and opening that.
I'd love to.
There's a note in there that's yours personally. Don't read that out loud. But on the card, there's a quote that I'd like for you to read out loud and talk about that quote.
Okay.
But the card in front of that picture, that's you right there.
Unbreakable. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
It's awesome.
I can see it.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Oh, well, there you go. Don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. Hebrews 13:2. Yep. This is one of my very favorite quotes.
Yeah.
And being in the entertainment industry and the hospitality industry, it's one of those that I'm actually, if you know me at all, you know that I always have my violin with me, or something with me.
Yep.
And I'm not afraid to pull it out.
Oh, what, do you got it?
I've got it.
I know you have it.
At a restaurant or a quick shop, pumping my gas. I mean, I have been pumping gas, and I've gone and got my violin out and played for somebody on the other side pumping gas.
You did it at Whole Foods when we met.
I did it at Whole Foods for you. The grocery store. Yeah. Retail. Nothing is below me for playing. But I truly do believe that there's a lot of ways you can interpret this passage, and it's actually printed inside the artwork of my Gospel Fiddler CD.
Oh man!
Because I believe that we don't ever know who we are showing hospitality to, or welcoming or loving, or in my particular case, sharing some music with, and what kind of effect that might have. Roy Clark always closed his shows, and I was so inspired by this. He would have this little thing he said where basically he encouraged everybody to give a wave and a smile to everybody you met. He said, just imagine you're walking down the street and you wave and smile at a stranger who's passing you by. By the time they they tried to figure out if they know you or who you
Yeah.
are. They're smiling and waving back, but you've already passed, and now the next person is seeing them smile and
yep.
wave, and it just keeps going and going. And pretty soon the whole world is smiling and waving at each other.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's my violin, and it's always so close,
Oh yeah.
accessible, and I always love to share.
Look at this.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to forget my shoulder bar.
What a treat.
Well, what a treat for me to be a guest on your podcast. And as a matter of fact, last year when I was at the Opry, I think I sent you a picture, but I peeled back my custom Manuel, and underneath I was wearing my Defining Moments podcast T-shirt.
And big news happened there too. Didn't you propose?
Yeah, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the proposal. I proposed to Jenny, and our 1-year wedding anniversary is coming up next month.
That's awesome.
So
man.
lots and lots of excitement. Talk about another defining moment.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain, so stop your sighing. Be happy again, keep on smiling, 'cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain, so stop your sighing. Be happy again, keep on smiling, 'cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. The whole world smiles with you. Ha!
Nice. That was good stuff, man. That was great.
Absolutely, man.
Wow.
Woo! Bouncy, happy as can be.
Man,
and it's true.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
It's very true.
And you have to keep that enthusiasm up for periods of time. How do you do it? On stage.
Just there is such a joy that comes from knowing that you have something that you can do that can change people's lives. That can do just that. It can. You get the violin out. If I get my violin, I'm performing. You're watching and you're feeling the exchange and the energy, and you're seeing the effects. And it's a continuous loop of inspiration. Yeah. And you don't have to figure out how you're gonna keep it up when you're performing. There's an adrenaline. There's just I don't know. I just have, for me personally, such a love and appreciation for the music and its power to change people's lives, and that's what keeps me going.
I love it. What do you feel like? Because when you miss a tune, What happens when you miss a tune?
Oh, when I
Like if you miss, like
yeah, well, I always loved my jazz band director in high school. He always told me that there's no wrong notes, just better choices. So I just think, well, yeah, well, you know, there's not really a wrong note, just better choices.
that's good stuff.
So, you know, I would really sincerely hate to count my mistakes on the violin.
Yeah.
Because we're always messing up. Jascha Heifetz, I love this, and it's a quote that just basically hits the nail on the head. And he was once asked. He said, and he's known as one of the greatest violinists of the 20th century. And he said, Jascha, you play your playing is perfection. You know, you've never once have played a single note out of tune or made a single mistake. How do you do it? And his response was something like, well, it's not that I don't ever make mistakes. I just correct them so quickly that nobody notices.
Oh, very good.
So with the violin, just like in life, if you've got something that goes wrong, you have some people that are black or white. They'll see it as this is a mistake, or this is correct.
Yeah.
Then you have the people that see the gray area, and they say, well, this is an opportunity to come up with a new solution. This is an opportunity to innovate.
Yeah.
And the same with the violin. If I was playing, and let's take something very, very familiar like Happy Birthday. Everybody knows how it goes, but let's say I go. That's not the right note.
Yeah.
But listen to this, I'll do it. You know,
nice.
you take a slip, and if you're thinking fast enough, you can adapt, and it becomes an improvisation. It becomes an improvisation is just literally is you're taking a melody and you're trying to improve upon it. You're trying to embellish in a way.
Yeah.
Well, a mistake is a very natural departure point for real pure organic improvisation. You have basic harmonies, like da 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 da. But you have other notes that start expanding the harmony.
Yeah.
And that's actually when you start having these notes that you wouldn't think of as being the right note.
Yeah.
That's when you start feeling a richness of the harmony. You start getting a just a much more lush musical palette and experience, and
that's cool.
And the harmonies become so much deeper and more intriguing and emotional, and so yeah, you know, we can't get caught up on the mistakes.
Yeah,
we've got to recognize those as gray areas and an area for innovation and improvisation.
I love it.
We can always improve.
Speaking of improvisation, I want to record you playing Happy Birthday. I'm going to do
Oh, great!
So that way, when I get on Twitter, I like to see when people have birthdays. We'll shoot them a little video.
Cool. Let's do it.
We'll do that.
Awesome. Let's do it. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday from Defining Moments Podcast. Happy birthday to you.
Wow.
See?
Dang.
Yeah.
Man,
And that keeps it interesting because, I think about that, and I've had these conversations with my friend Peter Marcus. We've been making music for 25 years together now, and every now and then he'll kind of point out to me that through these years, even though we play the same songs all the time, that I'm always playing things a little differently and changing it. And I think about that when I play, maybe why I never really felt like I've been burned out or tired of playing this song again. Or we always have an opportunity if you're bored, if you're sitting at home and you're listening to this and you're bored, it's up to you. You have an opportunity to do something about being bored or about feeling like things are mundane or monotonous. You can only you can change that for yourself.
That's right.
And so that's the approach that I take with the violin as well. I could play you Happy Birthday just like I played it the last time, or I could suddenly right in the middle think, what could I do to make this different or new or like I've never done before? And it might just turn out awful, or I might lead me down a little trail that is fun and exciting and interesting, and at least for myself, and hopefully somebody else will experience it. And I get people saying often, it's like you guys are really having fun, and like it's fresh, and we used, of course, make jokes. We said we never rehearse because we don't want the show to go stale.
That's true.
But we do rehearse. But
right.
But you rehearse. All of your rehearsal and practice and preparation is so that you're prepared to go out and do whatever you want. Change and do it not like you practice it.
Right.
The practice and preparation is so that you're secure and comfortable to go out and then do what you know to do best.
That's awesome.
And that carries into any field. You become a pro at what you're doing. You know by the book. A welder knows by the book how to make the proper weld. But he can go to the field, and if he has a certain unique situation, he can vary because he has all the skill sets and he knows exactly what's going on.
He can improvise.
He can deviate in order to have a different result, but achieve superior quality and effect.
That's good stuff. That's really, really good stuff.
So
there's so much enthusiasm in this conversation and so much energy, and I love it. I want to pick your brain a little bit, though.
Yeah.
How do you deal with negativity?
Yeah, negativity. I remember the very first time I was in high school. I got a handwritten letter from somebody that was just had something to express to me, and I thought, I read that letter and they put their time and stamp and effort into that, and it was the most horrible thing I'd ever read. And I thought, how is that possible if this person came away from the performance or whatever it was with needing to express those feelings to me?
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I actually saved that letter for a long time. I was thinking about it recently. I wondered where it was. I really wish I had it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to look back and read. But I think we always have to realize that somebody is being negative. It's probably because of something they're dealing with. And if somebody has something negative to say to me, we know that words are powerful, and words really do. They really do have an impact,
for sure.
But if somebody says something negative, we have a choice. We can absorb it and all of its negativity and all of its effect, or we can just think that, this person just really must have needed to say that. And I hope they feel better.
That's a good mindset.
I hope they feel better, because that was really for them. That wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to do anything to help me.
Right.
We can, if there is a trend, if in general people are are being critical or negative about us, then maybe we need to evaluate what we're doing.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to, once again, evaluating what are your core beliefs, what's your mission, and is what you're doing in line with your mission.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it is, and people still have a problem with it, then it's always up to you. You've got a choice. But But I have some negativity. Even in I read a comment on a post just a few weeks ago that I almost wanted to jump in, and respond. And I thought, that's like trying to throw a dart at a fly. It's kind of where you're at. You're never gonna achieve anything but a bunch of holes in the wall.
That's good.
And so I just, I think sometimes you got to just let it go. Put it in the words of Elsa. Let it go, let it go.
I love that, man. I feel like that reiterates my mindset, because last week I had dinner at Toby Keith's Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
And we all took a picture, all 5 of us. And I knew that once he posted that picture, someone was going to say something.
Yeah.
It's because we weren't wearing masks. We were eating dinner, right? So we just had a picture taken. Yeah. And sure enough, there's a thread full of mask shaming people. And I was like, man, maybe this is a defining moment. Maybe I don't need to reply. And so obviously I didn't reply to any of I just saw first few. I was like, they're mad.
This.
Yeah, you can't touch us. They're mad. So
they're mad. I feel sorry for people if they're upset.
Yeah.
I have a song that I wrote during the very first part of the kind of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And the quarantining and everybody's staying in, and the essential and non-essential was a huge topic in the news, and a debate, and what's essential, and and should you travel? And my wife lives in she lives. Her primary residence is Indianapolis, and has 2 children from a previous marriage that are there, and I have 2 children here.
Yeah.
So we split up our time. We go back and forth. Both of us go back and forth to both places to spend time with each other and to be a family.
Yeah.
And all of this, has never violated any of the protocol set forth by the CDC or WHO or anybody. If you needed to travel to take care or check up on family or whatever it is, that's essential. But I was driving, making one of my trips to Indianapolis. It was probably in March, and I had somebody that said, "Well, are you being safe out there? And are you sure you think you sure you're doing the right thing? You think you really should be traveling?" And it really got me thinking, about it. And as I pulled into Indy, I saw a sign. It was late at night, and I saw this sign that said Louisville, like 110 miles or something. And I thought, man, we don't ever see Louisville signs in Oklahoma.
Louisville, Kentucky?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm thinking, I don't know, late at night, sometimes things hit your brain a little differently.
Yeah.
And it just all of a sudden dawned on me that I'm, part of my life is here, and I'm seeing Louisville signs. It's just 100 miles up the road.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I wonder how far away I am from Oklahoma. And I'm, Googling, and I'm like, about roughly 700 miles. You're going to end up in Oklahoma, and I was just kind of thinking about that, and all of a sudden this song emerged, and I don't know if I can sing a song for you or not.
Let's do it.
See there, I've always got my violin. I've got my guitar today.
Man,
too.
You got everything. You got it all.
I wouldn't have brought a guitar if I'd known there was such an artillery of instruments here.
There's an artillery of instruments here.
But it got me thinking about the question of essential and non-essential, and And I came down to the basic premise that what's really, truly essential is being with the ones we love. And so this is... It's called To Hold You, a song for Jenny.
All right.
100 miles from Louisville, 700 miles away from home. I pull into the driveway, closing out my prayers. I see you left the porch light on for me. What's to come I can't be sure, but lately I'm not sure I even care. 'Cause I've read about some crazy times and I've seen those picture shows, but lately things have gotten really strange. You got to hold the one you love. That is the only thing that matters anyway. And if you have to give up, don't give up on yourself. Someone could be headed your way to hold you. State of emergency, that's the state we're living in, I'm told. So far I've been doing fine, this Oklahoma state of mine. God has given us our daily bread. Skies are gray or skies are blue, don't matter much if working days are through. I'll just sit here in this house with you and strum on my guitar. It's essential that I have you close to me. 'Cause you got to hold the one you love. That is the only thing that matters anyway. And if you have to give up, don't give up on yourself. Someone could be headed your way to hold you. Choices will have to be made, but you must never be afraid. You just got to hold the one you love. That is the only thing that matters anyway. And if you have to give up, don't give up on yourself. Someone could be headed your way to hold you, to hold you. What you gonna do when someone comes to hold you?
That's awesome, brother.
So yeah,
wow.
We need to be thinking. We need to be thinking about what's truly essential, and
So
our
good.
faith, our belief in God, and those we love is the essentials, and we need to do what we've got to do for us individually to protect those things.
Yeah.
So
I like that. In one of the lyrics you had leaving the porch light on for you.
yes,
What are some things that people don't know about Kyle Dillingham? Maybe a couple things.
they need to know about me.
Yeah. They don't know about you, but we like to know.
In my senior year in high school, I dedicated about the first 200 decimal places of pi to memory.
Wow.
And that, and you know how during semester tests, you'd have the classes that you had the tests, and in the other classes you had study periods.
Yeah.
Well, I was always so bored in the study periods. I I guess I was ready for my test. I was just prepared. But so I spent my time dedicating learning how to write cursive from right to left, where you could turn it and then read it in the mirror. Mirror image, cursive writing. But it's funny, these two things actually got me out of a speeding ticket one time. I was driving home late from Oklahoma City back to Enid, and in Hennessy, Oklahoma, Barney Fife pulled me over, anyways, he took me back to his car, and asked for my license. He saw my license. He saw my signature. He said, "Well, what kind of a signature is that?" And I said, "Oh, that's backwards. It's written backwards from right to left." And he just looked so intrigued. I said, "Yeah." I explained that I'd learned how to do that, and I also dedicated first 200 decimal places of pi to memory. And I said, pi, the mathematical equation for 3.1415926535897932846263443. And I just went on, and he was just like. It was like midnight in Hennessy, Oklahoma, and he was like, "I'm just going to go ahead and let you go on a verbal warning tonight, but just slow it down and be careful there going on home." So, well, something about Kyle Dillingham. I like a nice, comfortable ride. I've always loved like the old. Lincoln Town cars.
Yeah.
My favorite, of course, being back in the kind of the 90s, the early 90s versions style, but also like the old Cadillacs. And my very, very first car was a 73 Chevy Caprice Classic. And man, I wish I still had that car.
The tank.
Yeah, it was beautiful. The trunk.
Yeah.
I could put my double violin case, guitar case, mandolin, banjo, double bass, the big stand-up doghouse bass.
Wow.
A music stand, not to mention the spare tire that's already there, a pair of overalls that I kept in my car in case I needed them, 3 quarts of oil just on hand, and a little toolbox full of tools and jumper cables. And the lid would close without anything touching.
Oh man!
And I think, man, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And then you're riding, and it just feels like you're gliding.
Yeah.
So I really love that. I love to travel. I get to do it a lot for my work, and my music, and it's just it's one of the perks.
Yeah.
I think that this opportunity to see the world, get on a plane and go anywhere, or get in the car and drive somewhere,
right?
I just love it. I don't get tired of it. Sometimes you get a little tired trying to get through security, or trying to make your connection, or this or that, or keep track of luggage. But at the end of the day, it's just amazing that we have this little blue book. The U.S. passport, the American passport, probably the most coveted legal document in the world.
Yeah.
Worldwide, people would sacrifice everything they have. A family would give up everything so that one person could someday have a chance to have one of these little blue books. And I have people in my own family who haven't just gone down to the post office and paid the $100 and gotten one.
Got a United States passport, huh?
Because, well, I don't need it. But it's like, you can get it. Why don't you get it? You can.
Yeah.
You're one of you're one of the privileged few that has the right and to just pay $100 and you get it. That's all you got to do. And it's the most amazing document. The places we can go in this world, like nobody else in the world can do, because we have this little book. And it's such an amazing thing. There's very few places where we can't just get on a plane today, let's go to somewhere. You and I just go to the airport, get our tickets on the way, and be in another country tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
There's very few countries. And in most cases, the countries where you can't do that, where you need a visa, we're guaranteed a visa.
Yeah.
You just have to pay the fee.
Yeah.
And man, if you just could imagine this conversation with somebody in China
Right.
that wants to travel for vacation, take their family somewhere for vacation and visit anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And realize that it's not possible.
Yeah.
Realize that it's not possible. Or anywhere. I mean, there's so many places where there's so many restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very fortunate. I love to travel, and I love my U.S. passport.
Yeah. That's such a great way to describe the United States passport.
Yeah.
Man, because I have one at home,
Yeah.
obviously, and it's like,
Yeah. I'm on my fourth passport, third or fourth passport.
Wow.
Yeah. And I get the extra pages and all, but I've filled passports, and it's fun to look back through and see the paper trail of all the entries and
wow.
and disembarkations from port to port, and it's really it's very satisfying, and it's
Man.
gratifying, and it brings waves of memories and stories and experiences that almost always have to do with meeting somebody and somebody else somewhere in the world that created an experience for you that you will never forget. They cared enough that you had come, and they welcomed you and showed their hospitality,
Right.
like we talked about.
Yeah.
And opened up their home or their life, their family, some of their story, their town, their city, their country,
Cultures.
and their cultures
Wow.
and their music and food, and shared it with me.
Yeah.
Of all the people in the world, they shared it with me. And I think about all these people.
That's awesome.
And in the wake of news headlines and things that you see, there's always a internal struggle with me seeing China headlines. I have so many dear friends in China that I communicate with regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to not let headlines or government figures or political decisions begin to take our minds captive, because we can't forget that China is a country filled with people, with mothers and fathers of little children,
Yeah.
and uncles and aunts and grandparents, and gatherings and dinners and parties and celebrations, and just lovely people,
Right.
and who would in a heartbeat welcome any of us into their home,
Yeah.
and share all of that with us.
Yeah.
We should always remember that there's more people that are interested in sharing dinner with us than going to war,
Yeah.
or having any kind of a political struggle.
Right.
And because we can't get to a position like we were during the Cold War,
Yeah.
where you have this propaganda that begins to convince entire continents,
Mm-hmm.
or convince the rest of the world that there's a place where there's a bunch of bad people that hate you,
Right.
or anything like that, because that's just not true. That's just frankly not true about any place in this world. There's just a bunch of people that God created in His image to love and be loved.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the way it is. So
That's good stuff. You performed in front of kings, ambassadors, international ambassadors, the governor of Oklahoma. I mean, you performed in front of numerous people, millions of people total. What are a couple questions that no one ever asked Kyle, but you wish someone would ask? And what would the answer be?
Man, what would somebody ask? What I wish that they would ask, and what would the answer be? Boy, howdy, that's a very good question, Long. Boy, I don't know. That's a stumper. I'm not easily stumped, but boy, that is a question and a half. People, I mean, generally, I think when I'm meeting people, the conversation is generally pretty free flowing, which is nice. And but I will say there have been meetings with especially some of the very formal VIPs, there was not any chit chat with the Princess of Thailand so much, or there was actually a little bit with the Princess of Thailand.
Okay.
She was very, 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 very friendly and open and welcoming. With the King of Malaysia, it was a handshake. We got to shake hands. And I really, really wanted the picture. And so when he shook my hand, I just held on and I turned my head, and Peter was across the room with the camera and took a picture because we weren't supposed to do it. So I didn't have Peter right there with me. We all stood in a line on the red carpet, and he was kind of doing this thing, trying to get his hand back, but I was just smiling and I had my head turned and just held on, and then I begged forgiveness when it was over. But I guess maybe it would have been interesting just to have, if I had one question from somebody like him, maybe for him to just ask me something about my childhood, and that's what I would kind of be curious about with somebody like a king. Is what was your childhood like?
Yeah.
What were you doing when you were 9 or 10 years old?
Yeah.
Did you get to run around and play in the dirt and climb trees and did you do some manual labor? Did you work like for your grandpa, or did you till the garden?
Yeah.
Or did you have to pick weeds or I don't know. I just wonder, maybe those sort of things.
What did you do when you were 9?
Well, I was 9 years old when I was starting to take up the violin, but I was also about to start up my professional career as a skateboarder.
Okay,
and I was definitely playing outside. I was running around in the neighborhood barefoot, and we lived at a cul-de-sac, the edge of a neighborhood that sort of butted up next to an empty field, and then a fenced field that had some horses, and there was a creek and a little pond, and you walked through the field and you ended up at Walmart, but there was still this field, and man, that was just like a big backyard, a big extension of the backyard, and it was 4th grade. I bought my very first chicken at a garage sale. I bought a chicken summer before 4th grade, a little BB Banty rooster, and I paid $1 for him at a garage sale. Took him home and ended up getting some hens and started raising chickens and gathering eggs. And by the time I was I'd say about 11. I mean, even younger than that, I would spend summers on the farm with my grandparents. Yeah. My grandpa was a wheat and cattle farmer. On the family homestead that was my great grandfather staked the claim in the land run of the Cherokee Strip in 1893. My brother still farms that land today.
Wow.
But it was fun being out there and being with my grandpa and getting in the dirty pickup. Yeah. And going anywhere, to the co-op or going to the parts store or taking a tractor to the field. But because even when I was, I would say for sure when I was, 9, 10, 11 years old, I was driving the pickup behind the tractor to get the tractor to the field. My grandpa, when I was that young, my grandpa would get out at the intersections, if there was a major intersection, he'd get out of the tractor and he'd drive the pickup across, and then he'd go get the tractor, and then we'd carry on down the dirt roads. Yeah. But I think when I was probably 11 or for sure 12, I was driving the tractor too. Wow. And he would turn me loose in the field, and he'd usually get it opened up or something, and then he'd get me up there and strap me in and turn me loose. That's cool. And he'd go do what he needed to do and come back in a few hours and bring lunch or whatever. And I was working in the field. I often point to my grandpa as one of my main influences in my career, which is kind of funny. People expect me to list off all the violinists and fiddle players, but my grandpa, taught me about what it meant to be a small business owner. That's what he was essentially, running and operating his own farm. But I watched him work diligently and always with the highest level of integrity. And even I felt that as a 11, 12-year-old kid and a teenager driving the tractor, I was concerned that what would happen, and I would be driving, and dragging the plow, and I'd think, what happens if I miss? So I was focused, because I didn't know what would happen. What if I missed a spot? Yeah. And then my grandpa's going to know. Yeah. And the wheat isn't going to grow, or the weeds are going to be growing there next year, because it's a long-term plan, and I'd watch that working the ground was just one part of it, and then he'd sow, and then you just wait all year long, and to see if you're going to have a harvest, and and there's a lot of faith in that, putting the seeds in the ground, and you're relying on so many things that are outside of your power, so many forces outside of your control. Is it going to rain? Is it going to rain too much? Is the wind going to blow? Is there going to be a storm, a hailstorm, or whatever it may be? Will there be a fire? All these different things that could go wrong. But just watching him always work really hard and so dedicated, I think that was important for me. It was good preparation for music school, that's for sure, because learning to play the violin and the time that you need to practice and dedicate to that, and the very slow growth. I always encourage young violinists that if you're going to take up the violin, don't even evaluate your progress the first year. Don't even evaluate it. And then after that point, only measure your progress like every 5 years. Because it's such a slow maturing growth that sometimes you can't even feel that you're improving, and you hit these plateaus constantly where you're feeling so discouraged about your playing, and that it's just you're struggling, and then you have a breakthrough and it feels good for like 1 hour, and then you all of a sudden feel like it's just what happened to it? It just feels awful. And it's still the case. Still the case today for me. But I think pulling with an umbrella top in an old Case 930 with an umbrella, and dragging a little 4-bottom plow that doesn't cut much more of a swath than this workstation. And you take about an hour to make one round in a quarter section of a field. And by the end of the day, you've put about maybe you've been working for about 10 hours. You can't even look across the field and see the progress on the other side. You can barely see that you've done anything where you are. You've made 10 rounds with a 4-bottom plow. And you just easy does it. Wow.
Time and patience.
Slow but sure wins the race. And I remembered, just thinking about that when I was out there. I was, because just constantly, and the thing motivating me was that I was scared that I was going to, mess up the bumper crop that year. But those are skills and ethics that are important that you can carry into any work or any situation. And
that's true.
I sometimes wonder how, if I'll be able to do enough to give my own kids those experiences. Mm-hmm. I feel thankful that they have some situations that are allowing them some of those experiences and a little bit of farm life. And so it's really good. It's encouraging to me and exciting for me to see the kids having an encounter with nature and with growing things and with animals and just the work that goes into it as well.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Wow. It's advice that I'd give a younger me. Oh. Man. I don't have a lot of regrets, but I guess maybe I just say, just maybe always just be bold and go at something like you're going to get it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's really good. What are you most proud of?
Most proud of? I'm sure proud of my children. Proud of my children. And just their every little success. I'm proud. I have professional accomplishments that I'm very proud of. I was a recipient very early on of the Governor's Arts Award, the Oklahoma Governor's Arts Award.
Yeah.
And I was told that I'm the youngest ever recipient of that award, and they rarely, it's something that's just given to a young person. It needs to be sort of more of a lifetime of achievement. And but they felt that I had merited it from just the work that I had done as a musical ambassador representing the state of Oklahoma everywhere I'd gone in the world. And also at the time I had also been championing the development of new Oklahoma symphonic music and works for solo violin and symphony orchestra. And I'd also developed a standalone audio method for learning French. I worked with my good friend Dennis Dunham, whose PhD is in second language acquisition. When I learned French, I came home, he started teaching me how to teach language, and then I turned around and taught him French.
Wow.
And together we created something, of an equivalent of like a Rosetta Stone, you might imagine, like a listening first approach. But the whole thing is rooted in an over 2-hour dramatic love story. Okay. It's written like a musical. It's like a Broadway style musical that you're listening to. And you have I wrote about, something like 30 original songs that are woven into the fabric of the story. So through the story, song, and music, you have this whole brain learning experience of naturally acquiring a second language. Yeah. And so those were some of the things that were recognized in that ceremony.
Wow.
In terms of the work that I was doing artistically and representing the state. So I'm very, very proud of that. And it also been named one of the very first classes of Oklahoma Creativity Ambassadors.
Nice.
So these are some achievements that I feel very, very good about. I always feel very proud when I have a chance to represent the United States anywhere I go in the world. There's not a better feeling than knowing that I'm on the opportunities that I've had to formally represent America through through the State Department on musical tours. and just knowing that I'm being trusted in my service to my country to go and create impressions for Americans.
That's great.
Globally. And another really proud moment for me was when I did my Grand Ole Opry debut. I had my band with me. I had my bandmates Peter Marcus and Brent Salisbury with me, and I felt very proud to be able to share that moment with them because of just all of the love and hard work and dedication that everybody's put into the music that we've been making, and I was being honored. I was just really felt very proud to have them there with me, and I had to, get the permission to have my band versus using the Opry band, and I turned down playing with the Opry band.
Wow.
So, but I would rather make music with Peter and Brent. I'd rather be making music with my friends any day of the week. So, always proud to do that, and I'm extremely proud of my wife Jenny for the service, the service that she dedicated. In her time in the Air Force.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the decision she made to serve our country in that way.
That's great stuff, man. Wow. What's something you think you would regret if you don't do it within the next 7 years?
Well, couple of things that my wife and I have been discussing, some projects, and although they're not really things I will talk about right now, but I think thinking about something in particular that if we don't, figure out the trail to really pursue it, that I would kind of regret that. Mm-hmm. There's other things like boy, the next 7 years, my kids will be 14 and 12. So I guess I would regret not, I would certainly regret not, always making the time to play with the kids. And to have that, I think about that. I think about how they're growing so fast, and that, if they still want to snuggle or to, have me read a story to them or any of those things that maybe they might not in 7 years want me to do, then I will regret if I don't take every opportunity to do those things.
Love it. How does Kyle want to be remembered?
As a man that just loved people so much, that he was willing to give up a day of his life and travel halfway around the world to share some music with them. Yeah, I've kind of been taken on the title of Oklahoma's musical ambassador, and I take it very seriously, and so I think I feel very comfortable with people remembering me that way, that I was representing my state through my music. But I hope people will also remember my heart and my passion to not represent just my state and my country, but also my God. And not just God, but represent God's unconditional love and mercy and grace, and that we can extend to people and share with others. And I always try to share everywhere I go. So
that's great.
Yeah,
I want to share this with you. is I remember the exact moment and where I was standing when you DM'd me a little bit over a year ago. I was in my bedroom and I had posted something about a moment, and you actually replied, it's like, man, these defining moments, we have a lot of them. And then you DM me, and I was standing there, I was like, talking to my wife, I was like, Margie, do you know Kyle Dillingham? She's like, yeah, he's really good. He's on the skateboard. And I was like, yeah. And anyways, how you made us feel is priceless.
Wow.
You took the time to not only DM us, but you took the time to text, you took the time to call, and you invited us out to the duet with
Virginia Campbell. She was playing the piano, you were playing, and going backstage after that, hang out with you, your family, kids, and at the time she was not even your fiance yet. Yeah.
But I appreciate that a lot about you, man. Thank you so much. That tells me that you're a great man, high morals, high standards, great character.
Thank you. Well,
And you're level-headed, very humble, and more people could take note of this. Proud American, want to represent anyone,
anyone.
So that's great. So I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
Yeah. How do people get in touch with Kyle Dillingham?
KyleDillingham.us is my website.
Nice.
I'm very easy to find at Kyle Dillingham on Instagram and Twitter. Kyle Dillingham Music on Facebook.
Yep.
Boy, I mean, you can just Google Kyle Dillingham and you're gonna stumble upon a way to get a hold of me. And I hope that you will. People sometimes ask me, so where all do you play? I always just say, anywhere I'm invited.
Exactly. That's right.
If we can come to some kind of an agreement or arrangement, then I'm there. So
that's awesome, man.
Please do. Yeah.
I love it.
KyleDillingham.us.
Last question for you.
Yep.
If you don't mind looking at that camera, Kyle Dillingham, do you approve this podcast?
My name is Kyle Dillingham, and I approve this podcast. Defining Moments Podcast. We are undefeated.
Woo! Oh, love this guy. My name's Wong, and I definitely approve this podcast. Woo! Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that was so good.
God. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, you bring some serious energy to this.